train ki lopsen the activity amena turnover ratio le ra turnover ratio ta diga thenda kharla na ta yamena nganju ki tirush le ra capital employed to son tangyo ra pesha to son tangyo yamena asset ra yamena stock ra stock tinzu rig di thema khaju ji ra sell la gyur sha le duch kuchuda aju pesha to son ta wa do ta yamena asset nyu wa do ta stock tinzu khajin sugo re khajin nyu go re khajin nyar go re la ra shina khari che du nyar go re la na sell gi che du kuchuda so to son khajin dang wo re aju chong ge che du kuchu chong ge che du so aju khar ha gu ni to go la na di activity turnover ratio nang la thema khaju ji aju gi ta di dai de che ro di nang la capital inventory turnover ratio yore ro and you are the trade receivable turnover ratio yore and sumba the trade payable turnover ratio yore and dijala fixed asset turnover ratio yore ro and dijala 5 working capital turnover ratio yore odin mangbu do chero and investment turnover ratio so tinzu di changma khala wala na thema khaju chitwa ngajo chi inventory di sale la gyur thu du sir ro thema khaju chi ngajo chi trade receivable di sale la gyur thu du la do so kujuda sale activity I mean turnover ratio thunda chi boje kyang activity I mean turnover and sale ro kujuda so di che so di nanglo la ngajo ki thangshu di inventory turnover do chle na inventory turnover ratio so diga ji formula do chla na ta chidan di khate wala na thema kha ju chi ngajo chi inventory di turnover la gyur sha turnover la na sale ra thema kha ju chi ngajo chi inventory sale la gyur sha yamena dinong na revenue generate chi dos la na ti da ko da so di che ta diga ji formula do chla du sambala inventory da de yo khar khar de la na cost of goods sold yude divided by average inventory to the average inventory is a cost of goods sold ding to khades sigi wati ngun ha ko wa cost of goods sold da sambala opening plus purchases minus closing and direct expenses to your na or the che the average inventory ledu sambala khala over this average inventory ledu sambala opening plus closing ra average inventory se da sa opening stock plus closing stock divided by average se with sambala 2 half kimati khazur ra logo ji starting kabla ajo ji stock tiga status logo ji ending kabla ajo ji stock tiga status so average khazur islan dini ki paru dio chili rwa so khande chere tirni tom rwa tom sa ki divided by 2 chair kimala rar so basically 25 to chira yekir rwa so the average inventory re kesi thon la opening stock te minduna opening stock not given rwa thona te mena closing stock chibuji len share kujuda closing stock chibuji len share average sabla so average inventory khacha dure anjoji closing stock the chart or kesi opening stock te mena thona this are te mena opening the zero the in the matalo zero the so not accurate d mare so shunsa the cost of goods sold in namgyu ne anjo khande se go re na cost of goods sold khande se go ta kesi sales te wache and gross profit to te na and net sales minus gross profit ra is cost of goods sold and there shepa anjo namgyu khande ro chi wala na that the net sales te me wache gross profit te me wa do chi na the parul information khate sir opening plus purchase minus closing la jo 어디랑 비슷하나요? 그래서 안녕도로 direct expenses 가시지. or the mena khara opening stock plus purchases plus direct expenses minus closing stock. Tingina na khandi pirta your information la pa yang ju dit segirwa. So chunga inventory turnover ratio la samala boost. Tata yan thwa nang la anju edi yung si ta. Cost of goods sold di haku omar ro haku omar na chetwe kura kale habu chayo na dise kale habu chayo du na anju khajere dit sabla anju net sales dikhere thwa na information kura share te mare and what na the cost of goods sold say the possible kore mena net sales dikhi share so the cost of goods sold de da dit sabla khere net sales so anju je average sorry inventory turnover ratio inventory turnover ratio kharcha dolana net sales divided by average inventory the chador gojuda kisi cost of goods sold say the impossible doji na and dil chashana teach let's see example jikiorwa calculate stock turnover gile talo stock turnover gile inventory turnover stock turnover are same ratio so then also khachela stock turnover ratio I mean inventory turnover ratio said so let's see kind of same but tango azu khara ko na formula de ha ko so stock turnover ratio is equal to kharla sum cost of goods sold divided by average inventory so cost of goods sold kind of say to the information de la tan say the net sales did with them into gross profit did with them into but opening stock closing stock purchases direct expense cash station this one so kharpich dare opening plus purchases minus closing stock plus direct expenses and eliminated divided by average inventory kharit sale asu opening stock plus closing stock divided by 2 goes the so those series let's identify thabo average inventory set to average inventory situation average inventory is equal to opening stock plus closing stock divided by 2 opening stock where the 20,000 so 20,000 plus closing stock has to 10,000 divided by 2 khazuli somewhere in the middle kima do actually so in is kima has to 15,000 so 15,000 thing also the average inventory now cost of goods sold set with this cost of goods sold opening stock has 20,000 raw plus purchases has 50,000 raw plus direct expenses wages direct expenses raw wages direct expenses raw lana re direct expenses da carriage inward carriage inward and some direct expenses stress re outward in a carriage outward in a direct expenses mare freight and some chico giganta which raw freight that is a freight outward that some chulo liquid to the truck that the korwa transportation gi korwa but chulo liquid na to chulo chala chulo ki to the sum to the transportation la indirect chatur this are nanglo la chu kile na factory nanglo la kile na ani raw material do kile ora so the khare inward the direct seed so direct e do ra khar do wages 3,000 down carriage inward 2,000 this are ani thamadela khar the closing stock minus closing stock so the portion need khare direct expense need de so the dom change the sambala khare ngajul khajul na 65,000 this so ngajul information ko ni ka raare cost of goods sold the average inventory raare so let's find out stock turnover ratio is equal to cost of goods sold khajul to 65,000 and average inventory is 15,000. This is so on the answer the 4.3 times. So those doji chair the law answer chili sambala stock turnover ratio. Clear? Next the on the Harilana trade receivable or debtor turnover ratio. Turnover ratio. This one. So the end the law debtor turnover ratio. The Dewey formula debtor the information equal to that's right debtor turnover ratio doji. That is sambala debtor the debtor le sambala sude. Ngazui ki pulling la chala chonsati credit sale chisati. This is credit sales net work gimze khalana ta rangja lo wa de yung sira credit sale chire mid rangja lo chala ya min duren rangja lo yin sire ta rangja lo yung go ba lo cha we jela thando ngaju chung khaju kya tu tu o de credit kana this is data le sambala phulen gala chala chung kyo mid ju le re so credit sales che ba divided by khare embato tu tingye la ngaju stock turnover ta na average ra average khare do average trade receivable average trade receivable re. This is so basically ni khala so net sales as sambala net credit sale as sambala credit sale as sambala khala so credit sales minus return do na avadira this way clear now ta average trade receivable na dire account receivable na dire kya kya min dura so khade sel na digeji this setang di again tinil na jo opening trade receivable plus kharem badu closing trade receivable divided by 2 this is so do sincere data turnover ratio that sambala data le sambala credit sale that ayare wa ngajo gi mi jila chala phuleng al chode so credit sales net credit sales divided by average trade receivable wa average trade receivable la du khala ho ra opening trade receivable la sa plus closing trade receivable opening trade receivable la du thanda trade receivable la du ti chi bu chawo mata bills receivable chi bu chawo mata ti nang la khar khar si la na trade receivable la du debtor gi re ra nyam do la bills receivable din chu re isa so kha che re opening debtor plus closing debtor isa plus opening bills receivable plus closing bills receivable divided by 2 what is shared so chung sa trade receivable la na azu mi chan na len yu gyo la ta chu pesha len yu gyo wa phulenga la chara chung re so ko azul pesha te yu res so phulenga la pesha de khasa chara chung sa chur wa ti mi manda ni yu si re chik di data wa chik di khare bills receivable कैसा सा so opening the closing opening the closing to mere divided by 2 china also average trade receivable rador right okay tinyam to la information check theology khar rador la na average collection period ra average hold on average khar la so collection period rador collection period ra So the contest na average collection period contest sale na number of working days ra yamena dilan disar lojer nima jure sumgya thukjure anga divided by average, sorry, not average, debtor turnover ratio. This is so 365 the number of working days. Ra number of working days. So number of working days in a year khazure sumge thukjure anga divided by debtor turnover ratio. So khadre lasum number of working days. Masumge thukjure anga lega chiye to tsi divided by debtor turnover ratio. For example, dinangla sumge thokchu renga divided by khajure 4.3. That is sample 365 divided by 4.3 is 84.88. 85 seshana. So 85 din kharna relana days na re. So di khala wala na company chirwa kurazo chi pesha ditsu raya la dwa pesha la ora ta datar tauta yamena yes datar din chu dwa su ngu pesha le gyur de la nima khazu ro korge dus la na tigir kozi da so nima khazu ring go ki dus datar di anzo gi michel phulyenga di yarwa me khaza chala chongwa 어디 종교든 조지 답배샤디 추테라 니마 카즈도 주 고기도 카즈도 주 고르게도 슬라이드지 on an average 그죠 average collection period 배샤 수수지 배샤디 collect 체라 투주 on an average 카즈도 주 고르게도 그래서 so basically 드린 얘기 미칠라 불량가라디 자라종어레시나 the maybe nima geju kyangas to the course gi res tan nga assume chet surround the tail meeting al special lot chaila clear all right next the do that are amena trade receivable la so chibu chigan trade payable solution da the trade receivable chen shin zul kharere trade payable or creditor turnover ratio lar so CTR dot na ra ta kharim bedo to opposite ra greater than zu chane nganzu chala nyere so net credit purchase divided by kharim bedo to average khare creditors amena average trade payable na nadir ra average which can la shora average trade payable this a chikbuji can khare net credit purchase the khandes series to sale and samju chewa ki mare ro total net credit purchase the khandes series la suna credit purchase following on yugo dinang lo nenga zu gi parang ja lo sha ge din ro return chi ge din zu tension na and net credit purchase this a average the khandes sale na chikbuji kya opening khare sire opening creator use here ra opening creator use here plus ani khasa closing creator use here plus opening trade yamena bills receivable use here sorry bills payable use here and closing bills payable use here this somewhat divided by 2 chere this are thai the chiku chigan ta the decisions na ya mazul khariyede average collection chabla thanda delang ju phatte urwa so average payment period lana dirwa the dir thanda khala ore anju gi michi chane phulenga la chala nyoware shi na ti pesha di phatte chala nima khachu doj korke dulati so again khare number of working days dwa number of working days lana ti yamena month na kinati 12 kinati warwa so number of working days so 365 divided by kharem to trade payable. Trade payable ratio. This up. So those china mozo kharade average payment period. Okay, on the choice solution era. Question number 49. From the following figures, calculate the creditor's turnover ratio and average payment period. It's here, Risha. So let's find out. Thangpo khat sersa onzo creditor turnover ratio. So creditor turnover ratio khat se wala na. Onzo formula ko re khar ko re net credit sales korwa divided by khachere average creditor digoir ye gishitura 2010 gishitu credit purchase the 10 lakh dito and return to elana return into divided by the average the content simple na the wall serva average creditor so ni khala so opening plus closing opening khar ji opening creditor ta bills payable closing khar closing creditor ta bills payable this are so basically ngajo opening creditor khajur do opening creditor 2 lakh tada opening creditor tada 2 lakh closing khajur do 1 lakh tada plus opening bills receivable 40,000 plus closing khajure 60,000 ra and divided by kharela so divided by 2 so 2 the 1 lakh chirwa 1 lakh and then 1 lakh 2 lakh 3 lakh 4 lakh chirwa so 4 lakh divided by 2 so khajure 2 lakh 2 lakh so the average creditor is 2 lakh so kala 2 lakh tizuna and divide tana khajure 2 2 hajusa 10 2 5 sa 10 so therefore 10 sorry 5 times clear so ni khala so kisi di ra wara shi na so khara la so average creditor lang so hajore pay chora average payout namina average payment period lera is equal to sumge thuk churanga divided by 5 5 ra 5 times to the 5 is equal to kachere 73 chere 73 na days na re kisi 12 thi na dila emna 12 divided by 5 chisuna kharala na 2.4 dikhala na months this are so those in solve share okay